From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. Hello, everyone, and very happy 4th of July to you. I'm Jaime Hixson.
And I'm Eric Rosen.
We're so happy that you could join us this evening, just hours before the start of Independence Day. We commemorate our 241st birthday as an independent nation. And part of what is going to be making this show so special is, one, we got somebody that's going to be making their way in just a few moments. It's a very familiar face. And two, we have probably one of the most intriguing guests that we've had on this show basically since we started 11 years ago.
And that's
and
me.
who? Yeah, right.
That's me,
I don't
right?
think so. No,
That's
it's
me.
not you.
Is that me?
No, it's
The
not
hottest,
you.
baddest, sexiest man on cable access TV?
No,
G'day,
it's not
mate.
you.
Good day, mate.
Anyway, the guy we were talking about,
Is me.
no,
Thank
it's not
you for,
you.
you know, I
No,
gotta
it's
get
not
from
you.
down
No,
under.
no, wait,
Seriously,
wait a minute.
why
I gotta-
must you
I gotta-
always
guys,
do
guys,
this?
let's
I
get
gotta
to the
give
man
you-
that's right.
Wait a minute. Calm
Come on,
down,
wait a
Eric.
minute.
You
Let-
just came in here for a second. Let me get it. I wanted to say thank you for that intro.
It wasn't
it's
about
a
you,
beautiful
man.
Yeah,
intro,
first
man.
off, I wasn't
Did-
like, trying
thank
to do
you.
that.
Thank you.
Hector
I
Bosa,
wanna
ladies
thank
and
you.
gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Good on
But
you,
not.
mate.
But that's not who we were talking
No,
about.
Now, how's it going? I haven't
G'day,
seen you in a
mate.
while.
Never
How's
mind.
everything?
Anyway,
Introduce this guy.
We have
ahead.
probably one of the most intriguing
sorry.
guests that we've had here since
Go
we
on,
started the
everybody.
show 11 years ago. His name is Johnny Noctor. He's
Noctor,
a very-
Noctor, right? What is it? Fighter?
Fighter, writer.
Noctor Fighter Rider is how he goes
Hobo
by.
Fighter.
He's a very talented boxer, and he has quite a story to tell. You have had quite an odyssey going for you, and it's gotten to the point where basically, in your own words, your life and your career has gone into purgatory. Why don't you tell everybody about your life, your career in the ring, and what's been going on with you lately?
Well, ever since I
Yeah, good
stopped
on you,
wrestling-
mate.
Oh, I thought you were talking.
One of Australia's great battlers, Johnny Noctor. As far as boxing goes, my boxing career was actually in all the gymnasiums. I never really got to actually have a boxing bout on a promotion. As I say, I did about 1,000 rounds in the gyms without a trainer, sparring all the weight divisions. And I'm not saying boxing's died with Muhammad Ali. I'm just saying it needs to be fixed, and that the public need to know the truth about what's going on, especially considering they're paying for it. Just along the lines of Australian promoters definitely seem to be just looking after the elite guys at the top and not caring about anyone else unless they can use them in some way.
Now, when you say that, that means there was a lot of dirty, disgusting people that you were dealing with.
Well, not were. They're
They still are.
They
I
still
should
are.
say.
they're currently
They're currently.
just they're snowballing their boxing corrupt boxing empire into
Yeah.
you know, like they're becoming they get one man hundreds of millions of dollars, you know, like just to be a boxer and a boxing promoter, and like
It's like dominoes. The crap is on
yeah,
top
like
of crap,
hundreds
top
and hundreds
crap.
of boxers doing
right.
all the hard work, and all the good trainers, all the horse races, you know, the good guys doing all the hard work for boxing, say in Australia.
Right.
All of these blokes stick their dirty fingers in everybody else's pies to take the lot over there.
Who's the main guy?
The main guy is Danny Green, but he's actually been carefully orchestrated and put together by Angelo Hyder, the promoter,
Right.
who everyone knows the great Jeff Fennick, who came here, and Jeff Fennick's one of the good guys that's been just pushed aside.
Right.
Who came here and beat a Zuma Nelson and was
Yeah, Zuma Nelson.
yeah, like Jeff
great
Fennick,
fighter.
Jeff
Jesus.
Fennick, Costa Zoo, all the great
Costa Zoo.
yeah, all the
Oh.
great guys in Australia, the best trainer, Johnny Lewis, who had them all. They've all been pushed aside, while Angelo Hyder, and who he actually manipulated and took Danny Green off Jeff Fennick at one point because Jeff wanted to be in Mike Tyson's corner, his lifelong dream, and he took that. He was silly enough to let Angelo Hyder be in the corner with him, and, you know, as far as, in my opinion, you know, that's when Angelo Hyder took his number one fighter, Danny Green, off him.
Right.
And they've just spent 10 years just taking over boxing. As I've said, that's my third book.
Right.
Third book. My chronological books just have all the evidence and proof that these men won't give anyone a fair bloody go that's got a heart and a chin and who loves pugilism, Marcus of Queensberry rules. They won't let anyone have a fair go, but my books do also prove about psychopathy, sociopaths, and that's what they are.
How do you think they got there? How do you think they got to that position?
Well, Danny Green was a good boxer when he was with Jeff Fennick many years ago. And he built up something in Australia, as I've discussed with you before. He did get to the point where when he was haggling between his good trainer, a good bloke, Jeff Fennick, and Angelo Hyder, he was at the point where, I've discussed this with you before, Hector.
Yeah.
Paul Briggs was coming here to America with his big heart and going the distance with Adamek for those great world title fights in Las Vegas. Australia's best light heavyweight, Paul Briggs. And at that time, when he was at his peak, over those years, he challenged Danny Green 3 times. And Danny Green said no. Because Danny was just keeping all of his boxing in Australia, where with his snowballing corrupt empire with Angelo Hyder taken off, he could control it. Hence, that's why, you know, he waited till Roy Jones was 40.
Right.
And, you know, he wouldn't come over here and see if, you know, he wouldn't have a bit of a heart and invade America like I have and see, you know, what have I got? I'll see if I can fight the great Roy Jones Jr. Nah.
But Roy Jones still had it at that time.
Well, he'd just gone the distance. He just dropped Calzaghe and gone the distance with Calzaghe when he was nearly 40. That was but Calzaghe's promotion respected him in boxing and treated him well, and he lost on points.
Yeah.
So then when Danny Green made up this obscure world title belt, which wasn't, you know, he won't come over to America to fight for the real guys. He made up his own belt.
The WBO.
So Roy thought, Roy came over to Australia to fight him, but sociopaths don't believe in a fair fight between 2 equals of the same weight, prepared. No, so at the time when their mates were fracturing my skull on the street, you know, their drug dealing mates with political aunties, when they were doing that to me, and then they were using my head injury to get KO wins on other guys' records by making sure I couldn't get training or a hotel room or looked after or anything. At that time, that's when they... I'm just telling you now, I believe what Roy Jones Jr. said about Danny Green cheating with illegal hand straps.
Yeah.
Now, exactly what...
In my opinion, that it's a fact when you look at what they've done to me and Paul Hurricane Briggs.
Just out of curiosity, what advantage or unfair advantage do these hand straps give a boxer?
Well, like I said, Marcus of Queensberry rules is a good sport to me. It's a great sport. I love exchanging leather and that, but it's a fair fight between 2 equals of the same weight division. Although, if you think that Roy Jones Jr. is so good, even though he's 40, there's a chance you might lose and you're a sociopath, then you don't just want bone and the strapping and the glove to hit. You need it to be harder than that. Because you don't want a fair fight between 2 equals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like we were looking before the show, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
Danny Green's trainer's in my corner. Angelo Hyder's in my corner. He said to me, Danny Green's going to walk you to the ring as a personal favour to me. not only did he not walk me to the ring, not that I cared, he made fun with a microphone of my skull fractures and head injuries that he and his trainer knew about, but they knew the rest of the audience didn't know about it. I mean, he just said, a little birdie told me that if you want to win on your record, Johnny Noctor's your man.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see that on YouTube.
I saw the YouTube clip of that fight.
Funny thing is, his trainer's not in my opponent's corner. His trainer's in my corner. His trainer, like I'm supposed to be a part of their team.
I'm gonna see if I can get.
How
that
ironic.
YouTube. I'm gonna see if I can get.
Yeah,
that
it's on
yeah.
YouTube, and but like I said, that they know the audience. They're sociopaths. They know the audience don't know about, their drug dealer mates fractured my skull on the street, and that they just used me for sparring. And I recovered. I mean, when I was running up mountains and healthy, I'd go into gyms. There's a lot of guys that know. I'd outspar people because I don't want to know a guy's excuses, what he's got, and I'm not going to tell him mine. If I can summit a mountain and recover from injuries, I should be allowed a fair fight.
Right.
But they're relentless, these guys. They've been doing this to me they did it to me for 10 years, a decade. This is not just a few months.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, do you think some of the problems with today in boxing is the lack of transparency when it comes to medical injuries, two, the promotions that are at times can be greedy, and three, the enormous amount of federations like the WBO, IBF, IBC, all these different federations that keep popping up left and right? Do you think some of them are part of the problem today with boxing?
I'm a bit different there. I mean, I believe boxing has got the Viking side of it, I believe that if a guy wants to hide, I believe myself, if he wants to hide an injury and he's trained hard enough and he thinks he can still win, which in the history of it you can see that guys have done it through a big heart, I think that's separate to being controlled by psychopaths who they do a lot of, what's the word?
Underhanded dealings, or?
Well, months before fights, they do intelligence on guys. I'm saying, if a guy himself wants to train through an injury and feels he can make it and win, which they have done in great fights in the past, I believe that's okay, providing it's not. I mean, I shouldn't say this because my skull was fractured.
You can say.
Well, I'm just saying that it's different to the opponents using intelligence on a guy.
Right.
Like Paul Briggs, Danny Green wouldn't fight him in his prime. But many years later, when he's got neurological problems from 100 kickboxing fights and he's finished and his management and Boxing Australia's retired him, then Danny Green manipulates, gets him away, gets him to Perth and has him on the deck at the start of the first round.
Him a coward.
Calls him a canine dog. And yet the whole of the Australian public, pay-per-view, all the audience, they don't know the truth. They just think Paul Briggs took a dive, which Danny Green loves the millions of hits on the fight on YouTube because they make him out to be a coward diver.
So you're saying Danny Green is like the modern day Don King?
Yeah. No, his trainer, Angelo Hyder, is the Don King of Australia.
Well, put it this way: there's Jose Suleiman. There's a lot of trainers out there that are just as bad.
Freddie Roach at times.
Freddie Roach at times. Jose
Speaking
Suleiman
of which,
and so forth.
This past weekend in your home country of Australia, they had a fight this past Saturday night, Sunday morning their time. It was Jeff Horn versus Manny Pacquiao for the WBO welterweight. For the WBO welterweight.
Do you still follow boxing?
After what I've been through, I can't watch it.
You can't watch it.
Well, like I said, 1,000 rounds over many, many years. Yeah. The extreme pain you have to go through to summit a mountain takes months. The extreme pain barrier. And then if you can go into, like when I used to go into Tony Solder's in gym, Costa Zoo's gym, go to all the gyms, spar all the best, and just go everywhere from gym to gym, state to state. And yet everyone loved my sparring, wanted me to fight. But Angelo Hyder and Danny Green over those years made sure no fight. But then, when they pushed me away from the gym in the end and I'm not training, they tell me Rowan Murdoch, they didn't even say his name, they said this young guy's having his first fight. couple of weeks'
Yeah,
notice,
yeah.
and he's had 90 fights,
Yeah.
75 wins.
Well, not professional
Yeah.
fights, but he was going. He was not because Olympians can have that many fights, but they're still called
Well, he was
non-professionals.
fighting
right.
Russians in the world.
Exactly, right.
I know I'm answering
Exactly.
questions a long way, but my answer to the question was, how can I watch all these elite guys that get looked after and they're millions while I'm sleeping in the woods? Sorry, mate.
No,
Okay.
While I'm sleeping in the woods and church crevices,
Right.
can't sell my books that a Marine in Afghanistan gives me a 5-star review.
Right.
Ladies who hate boxing give me 5-star reviews, and I'm sleeping in homeless, can't sell them because these guys are just keeping me there
Right.
with all their corrupt money.
If someone asked you to train them, would you train them?
I'd love to try. I mean,
I know you've seen me at work, and I'm
Ah.
pretty good, right? I'm not that bad.
I'd be like Johnny Lewis. I'd be a great trainer.
Yeah.
But when you're curbed my way into the
Yeah,
gutter,
yeah,
you
yeah.
you can't even apply for a job because you want to put the truth in the application.
Right.
And as soon as you put the truth, they're like, oh, but that's Danny Green, the villain, and
Right,
they just
but
all
I'm
block you.
saying Here, you'd be able to train. Here.
Oh, I'd love to train young guys here. I mean, there's the greatest fighter on planet Earth right there. That's my favourite fighter of all time,
Roberto Duran,
Roberto Duran.
the Hands of Stone.
My
Yeah.
mom actually got me this at an auction, all that
That's
signed
great.
autographed item right here from Roberto Duran. In fact, my parents met. First fight they went to, Duran Leonard. That was their first date.
Yeah,
The one
unreal,
with the
unreal.
split match?
But when
No,
he
not that they're
the
wrong.
other one.
Yeah.
when he was a kid,
He was fantastic.
yeah, all the Roberto Durans, we were talking about this before, all the young Roberto Durans in the world now can't, especially in Australia, there's a lot of young Aboriginals, like, they can't get a fair go now.
Because Danny Green
Yeah, Danny Green just,
and Angelo Costa.
Every time I hear the name Danny Green, it makes me think of the player from the San Antonio Spurs.
Sorry,
Yeah,
you-
well, this is a different
sorry,
Danny Green.
my books prove he's a corporate psychopath that just manipulates and lies to everybody and gets away with it.
And also, going back to what you said before about training, if someone asked you to train them, what would be the first thing you would tell them to do?
Young guys,
Cardiovascular?
young guys, I should stop
would you
looking
tell
at
them
Roberto
lefty?
Duran
You
because
tell them lefty or go righty?
no, I'd tell him to swim across the river with a big bag full of mangoes with all the army chasing you because when he was a kid because he's got to feed his family,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and then he just goes in the ring when he's just a little kid and just starts going
But
for it.
the calluses that you get because since he was Hands of Stone, but it was just it was an atrocity when he said, I quit. That was because Leonard outboxed him. That was the thing. Leonard outboxed him.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into an argument.
No,
with you about that.
no,
I
you
only
can't. No,
I
I
only
want to
like
get
the
an
first
argument.
fight. I only
I-
like the first fight.
yeah.
I don't care about the rematch.
Exactly. No, I hear you. No, that's the thing. You want to get it because you want. It's not an argument. It's just the fact that you want to get it open. You want it like the stuff that you're talking about. You want to get it open.
But
'cause
now
not
I'm
too many
gonna,
people-
I'll be Tyson on You'll Be Holyfield with your ears. I'll chew them off because now I can see Teddy Atlas written on there.
Yeah.
And I'm just telling you now, there's
Teddy
so many
Atlas.
great men in the world in boxing like Teddy Atlas
Yeah.
that don't know my chronicles exist. And
Yeah.
I only say that because it's full of Roy Jones Jr., Paul Hurricane Briggs.
Right.
And if all these guys like Teddy Atlas and all the good guys knew about what Hyder and Green, Angelo Hyder and Danny Green are doing, they'd want them out of boxing for sure.
What makes you think they don't know?
How could they know and keep quiet about it? I mean, the sport is so good. It's obvious that guys like Teddy Atlas, Johnny Lewis, it's obvious there's a lot of guys that are passionate and love the sport.
Right.
Especially what he does on Staten Island. This is why I love Teddy Atlas. He has his own foundation that helps get medical procedures or wheelchairs or anything for people on Staten Island that can't pay insurance for that type of medical
And he
help.
also has small gyms
he-
around
oh, he
Staten Island as well.
Yeah.
He trained Marcus
Especially
Brown.
around my neighborhood, he has a little gym.
Yeah. But Marcus Brown, one of his pupils, is actually fighting this month in Uniondale at Nassau Coliseum.
Yep. Not too far from his
Undefeated.
hometown.
Well, can I give you my opinion about Teddy Atlas? Because
Of course. Yes.
when I grew up and even older, even going through my purgatory that they were putting me through, when I watch these great guys having boxing promotions and I see the trainers and the Teddy Atlases and I see a guy, whether he's had a head injury or not, you know, if he's been knocked out and he goes down, the trainer in his corner and the Teddy Atlases and the doctors all are straight in there to make sure he's okay, right? But like I said, in my heavyweight bout when I wasn't training, Angelo Hyder and Tasmania police manipulated my wife having a baby to get me in the ring, making me feel they'd give me some of the food money they owed me to feed my kid.
Right.
And when I have a seizure after Danny Green's made fun of my head injury, the guy in my corner, Angelo Hyder, I'm having a seizure. He knows I've had a fractured skull by his mate Grant Brown and the guys on the street. He knows I've already been KO'd on his promotion a year earlier.
Right.
And when I'm having a seizure while he's in my corner, what does he do? He just walks away. He walks away from the ring.
And especially with all
No one's going to read my book, see this footage and say he is not a corporate psychopath. No conscience, no remorse, no empathy.
And he also has Congress people under his thumb too.
Him and Danny Green own politicians in every
Politicians,
state.
exactly.
Just like Carol Brown, who I told you about.
Yes, exactly.
her
That
net-
was an in-depth. What you told me about what they've done to you, it's an atrocity. I mean, I don't know how these people are getting away. But at least you have the good fortune of being able to tell the truth.
Well, I
coming
just
out
want to
tell the
stand up
truth
for
now.
boxing because
Right
the
now.
millions and millions of boxing fans out there need to know what's going on so we can fix the sport and get it back to the Roberto Duran and Muhammad Ali days. Fair fight between two equals, passionate, great sport. It's like good like soccer, gridiron, basketball. It's a good sport. But the public are seeing something that's not the truth and they don't even know it. They need to know what's going on.
So you think the fight coming up August 26th between McGregor and Mayweather, that is definitely...
Sorry, I don't watch boxing, mate. I mean,
I know I'm saying...
if you do 1,000 rounds after
He can't watch boxing
can't
because it
watch
brings back
boxing.
way too many
No,
nightmares.
But for you guys, what was your opinion on
Well,
that outcome?
I'll tell you something. If it's a pure boxing match, Mayweather has it.
Yeah.
There's no hands or butts, because there was a time that there was a fight between a boxer and an MMA fighter, and the MMA fighter, instead of fighting regular, he started kicking him, forgetting that he was boxing.
Exactly.
So McGregor's got to remember he's a boxer, not a fighter. He's not an MMA fighter.
gonna
That's the
lose.
problem. That's the problem. Now don't sell him short. Don't sell him short. But Mayweather with his defense doing this nonsense and so forth,
And he's got a
protects himself
super
well.
strong straw.
He's
He's got a very good
a
jaw.
good jaw. But you have a fantastic jaw because you lasted this long.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to say I've been curbed. I mean, I spent 1,500 nights sleeping in the woods. How can I watch boxing doing
Yeah,
that?
exactly.
You know, I can't afford to support and feed and clothe my little
Infant.
7 and
Yeah,
10-year-olds
17
because
support,
psychopaths, I can't get justice against them. In a court of law, a
Right.
federal court in Australia, they'd have to pay me out for their psychopathy and go to prison. But I can't get them into court because Danny Green's infamous control of the media and everything, he saturates the whole legal system. Like if I took all my evidence
Right.
into one lawyer who wanted
Right.
to take me on, he couldn't believe it. Like all my cases, I win.
Right.
But his boss straight away said, Danny Green, no way. Like in Australia, Danny Green, to all the public, is Muhammad Ali.
Would
You
you
know,
be able?
and yet he is not.
Would you be able to do something here? Would you be able to talk to a
Well,
lawyer
I would
here
like
and-
to.
and
I
try to
would
fight
like.
it
In
from
my
the
book,
United States?
in my book America, I'm publishing in a few months.
Which is going to be.
I
great,
know
by the
there's
way.
Marines and people out there that if I can smash this, I'm kept from being known. If I can smash it, I can't see why Danny Green can't cage fight me in America before I turn 47. I can't see any reason. An underground cage fight, Danny Green. How can you get out of it, you gutless coward?
But would you risk going into the ring with him, considering your condition?
I'd rather get him into court.
In the court, yeah, but would you? Are you trying to find to get him in the court in the New York States?
I
Can
couldn't
you get a
beat Danny
lawyer?
Green
Can you
I
get?
wouldn't have a hope of beating him in a boxing match.
Can you get
But
him
in
the
a
States?
cage fight, I would not tap out Danny Green. Would you?
Yeah, I bet my money.
Let's
on
just
you.
say the two of you are not the best of friends, and you guys.
But you're able to
It's
get a
no
lawyer
different
from
to
this.
Winston Churchill and Hitler.
Yeah,
Winston Hobo Churchill.
yeah.
Speaking of why, did they call you the poet hobo? Because I know we spoke about this earlier, and you said they did that because they made fun of you and all that.
Oh, that was just... See, what they did was all the commentators for all the fights, they lied to all of them. They didn't tell these guys about what they were doing to me and that they were psychopaths and their drug dealing mates like Grant Brown were having my skull fractured on the street. They didn't tell them all that.
Right.
They just, like I've got a bit of wit, like Johnny Noctor's Australia's great battler. Danny Green is a snake and a rattler. For coward punch prevention's sake, I'm real, Danny Green's a fake.
Can I look at that first?
No, I'm telling you, that's a great book.
I'm
the
just
books
saying-
that you have out are fantastic, well written. Well written. And I got to tell you this, well written.
Thanks, mate.
It is well written.
I appreciate
I
that.
got to give it to you on
But
that.
only a few hundred people in the world know about my books.
And by being here on casts like this, like in the Bleachers, and of course the greatest show on earth, the Home Invaders Variety Show.
I thought you were talking about the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey.
Good on you,
circus.
mate.
Well, that's just like that is a circus, my show sometimes, so I don't see it. But
I'm looking at the illustrations and all that. A lot.
That's false and misleading offence reports and forged statements done by the police, which is a felony, and they'd have to go to prison. But I can't get them into
Even
court.
the
Why
cops.
did they? And I saw
Yes.
they wrote
did
a bunch
misinformation
of
on him?
expletives, obviously, that I
Wow.
can't
Yes.
say on a
But
family.
then again,
that's
should that
a
even be
forged
surprising?
statement by
No,
Senior
no.
Sergeant Lawrence Smith
wait a minute.
with my signature on it.
You said the cops are in it. The
That
politics
book's
are in
got a
it.
federal politician.
Everybody and
Federal politician and what
Wow.
she's
and the
doing.
defamation of character, they can't touch you now because
Well,
right now,
The fact of the matter is, like, that book was published 3 years ago.
Right.
And the defamation laws, I mean, they all come at me on Facebook. I mean,
Right.
they don't want the book online. But they won't take me to court to get it deleted
right?
because they know then
They know,
media
yeah,
will be on it.
yeah,
In
yeah,
court,
yeah.
they'll lose because they're criminals. But
You
they know that I'm blocked from... I can't even get a lawyer because Danny Green and Hyde are the puppet masters.
You would be able to get a lawyer in the States to fight them, right?
Yeah,
That's
there-
what I've been trying to
Yeah,
ask you. You're
there's,
trying to
there's
get a
like
lawyer
100
from
people out there like, what's
Here,
her name? Erin
here.
Brockovich. There's hundreds of lawyers like her in America, but I can't find them. I'm just
So
staggering around.
you're pleading for one that would take
Yeah,
your
but-
case, hopefully.
But even sleeping out in the woods here, which I have to be able to afford to come here, like I just
Yeah.
can't find or reach anybody. It's very hard being planet hobo.
yeah. That's one thing. How do you
Not
sleep?
Australia's hobo.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm now the world's boxing hobo.
Yeah, exactly. Now-
Fighter.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. And you know what? What you got something to say? Don't you have anything
I
to
better
say?
like.
Yeah, I mean, after hearing all of this stuff, I'm curious to know more about.
Sorry,
You
mate.
still got quick hands.
That's why I had to like get out of the way.
I'm
before
an
I-
older, sober member of AA. More like Gandalf the White than Gandalf the Grey.
Right. Yeah,
Wow.
that's right. You can spit rhymes.
Brilliant,
without
brilliant,
any- with
absolutely
all the
brilliant.
It's all the
time.
brain contusions that have been smashed into my skull.
Yeah.
They gave me 5 books now. Good on them.
Good. Heck yeah. Good
Do
on
you
'em.
ever watch any other sports here in the States? Or I'd be.
Oh, I'd love to go and see basketball and baseball. I'd love to, but when you got no money, like I can only afford to come here and desperately
we
try
should
to
take
find
you-
a
we should
manager
take
and.
you out. We
and-
should take you out one day.
Yeah, we do.
should
Good
take
on you,
out.
mate. And like I said, Leo.
Me and
Leo
Leo.
Sanderson.
Me and Leo. Me
He's
and
doing
Leo
a
Sanderson.
documentary on me.
Oh yeah, good old Leo called me. He
Good
said
on
to
him.
he said to tell you, hello, how are you? I hope you have a good show.
I tell you what.
Don't
the-
break a leg
the
because you're gonna
bloke-
break
the
your
bloke
toe.
works 12 hours at night, doesn't sleep during the day, so I don't know.
But
Anyway.
how he has the time to do what you're doing. But I tell you something, there's a lot of interesting things coming up with sports and so forth. But
Yeah, there are.
We got the All-Star game, actually. The announcement was made. The stars of the American League, you got Salvador Perez, Justin Smoke, Jose Altuve, Jose Ramirez, Carlos Correa, Mike Trout, Aaron Judge, George Springer, and Corey Dickerson. For the National League, Buster Posey, Ryan Zimmerman, Daniel Murphy, Nolan Arenado, Zach Cozart, Charlie Blackmon, Bryce Harper, Marcel Osuna.
I just heard that Mike Trout has to back out of the All-Star game because he broke his thumb.
I have a question. Now, with the leagues, with the American leagues and National League switching, like the Astros coming to the American League, so do you think that's made a difference in baseball?
I like what's happened the last few years with the Astros, especially this was a team.
Milwaukee going to the National League and so
Yes.
forth.
I really-
those are good.
I wasn't
those are
too
good
happy
moves.
about it in the beginning, but looking back
It's
on it,
really made a difference.
the Astros
Okay.
have become a really dangerous matchup for other American League opponents.
This was a team that had a 3-year 100-loss record, consecutive years.
Right.
Ever since Altuve came to the team, they built around him. You got guys like George Springer on the team.
He's coming up.
Yeah,
He's
Dallas
coming up.
Keuchel.
Yeah,
Last year was terrible. This year, things are starting to improve with him. Lance McCullers, Colin McHugh, and they have a good closer as well. They have a solid team. They have one of the best records in the league. But in this past weekend, did you see what they did on Saturday? The Yankees had a 6-3 lead. They messed it. They gave it up and lost 7-6. Even
Yeah.
Chapman screwed up the lead.
You know what? That's still
Although
a young team.
Yeah,
That's
although it
still a
wasn't
young
totally
team. The
his
Yankees
fault,
are
though. It was
still-
really Dylan Betances who self-destructed in that 8th inning. And yes, they do have a young team.
Twice he self-destructed this
Yeah.
past week.
Well, they're still a young team, and you wasn't expecting them to be in first place anyway, or even to be in contentionship right now. They're on the rebuilding stage, like the New York Knicks and like the Nets
Oh,
and so
don't get me
forth.
started on the Knicks and all that.
If anything,
And
the Yankees are
even
rebuilding on the
Nets,
fly.
Too. Even the Nets too. They're trying to rebuild.
I like the D'Angelo Russell move they made. I like that. I think that's a
Yeah.
good starting point right there. As for the Knicks, I do like the French guy they got, Ntilikina.
Yeah, I like him too. I think I like him a lot.
7'3" wingspan with him,
Right.
and the stupidity that they wanted to get rid of Kristaps because he didn't go to an interview.
Well, I tell you something. If they would have got rid of him, I would have loved to have seen what they would have gotten back. I would have loved to have seen what they would have gotten back.
the only team he would have been traded, honestly, Boston. I think they would have taken him.
I know
But
the
what
Celtics were
would they-
very interested
Who
in
would
him.
they have gotten back? That like
Possibly
the Carmelo,
Isaiah Thomas.
like the Carmelo Anthony. I would like to see that if it ever goes down as a trade, I'd like to see what they'd get for Carmelo because we all know what Carmelo can do for a team.
There's
But
already a
what-
Carmelo Anthony for Kevin Love trade.
Straight up.
Straight up.
Paul George just got
But
traded
what would
to
you do with that? Now, if it was a straight up trade, Kevin Love and Carmelo Anthony, what would Kevin Love do to the New York Knicks? Considering we all have we got a bunch of big men already.
He can give them 3-point shooting.
Yes.
He can be a real demon underneath the glass, offensively and defensively. But as far as a straight-up defender, he couldn't guard this table that we're both sitting behind.
And what
Let's
about
put it that way.
Golden State already? They just re-signed Iguodala to a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
And I just heard they re-signed Kevin Durant as well, but he only got a 2-year contract, including an option year.
And Seth
Well,
Curry got one of the richest contracts,
Yeah.
$210 million,
Yeah, he maxed out. Super max.
which is crazy. In the
And
NBA,
Sean
they
Livingston
have-
also
I
got a
don't
new
like
deal
to
with
hear
it.
all this money when I'm
But you know
lying
what,
in the gutter with nothing.
you know
when
what
people
it,
owe me millions and I can't
you know
get
what
hold
it
of
is though. You know why we talk about money because there's so much money out there to be made.
I
and
know
a guy
that.
like a guy like you, for some reason, nobody's grasping the fact that you are living out in the streets.
But I've
and
never
so
looked for a
forth.
publisher, and my suppressors,
And you
they
should.
don't know this. Yeah, I'm going to just wait until I've published my 5th book, America,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to look for one. And I'm hoping that they control, manipulate, and lie to the media. I'm hoping that doesn't flow over to the publishers.
Well, it has
But
got to Fox 5.
I might just quickly read a poem for my next book, America, I'm publishing soon. Integral Truth versus Danny Green, the Uncouth. Hobo aggressor takes on the scandalous suppressor. Evil villain Green orchestrates false propaganda whilst exempt. Suppressed hobo's hero is scorned at with contempt. Down under does Danny Green steal and plunder. while Johnny uses chronological lightning and thunder. Duck-shoving drongo Danny Boy uses the deceitful Darling Harbour media. Yet library archives will turn my books into a hobo encyclopedia. They've kept my wisdom and knowledge from being known. As a hobo monarch I'll attain a throne. Forward I'll forge while sinking green down the gorge. Hobo persevere and the media journalists will adhere. Fighter, writer and justice igniter. My revolt will lead to my justified right. Ordeal and my journey will lead to an attorney. Revelation of my authentication will lay green on a gurney. 2018, Hobo versus Gutless Green, cage fight!
Very good. That's
You know,
very
when
good.
you say
That's very
fighter,
good.
writer, now we know what you're talking about.
And you see, and that's why I enjoy your books, because it's simple. It's simple. It's a nice, simple.
That's nothing
To
like
read.
my book, America.
No. But what I'm saying is,
It's just a poem at the end of it.
no. But what I'm saying is, it's simple to read, but it's so simple that you get sucked in very quickly. Because it's well written.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
very
sorry.
well written.
My book's actually just beautiful stuff. Like when I was running through the snow at Pikes Peak with the mountain lion and the deer, it's
And
all.
you didn't carry the mangoes and so forth. You didn't supposed
No,
to
I
walk?
carried a big packet of beef jerky and a couple of big bottles of water up the mountain and slept in the cabins in the snow with the deer and that. And I mean, that's the sort of good stuff my book America's full
How
of.
do you handle being living in the woods here on Staten Island, or?
Well, there's a lot of deer behind here that that night after he dropped me off, I
Yeah.
slept in there with all the deer and
Right.
I mean, the amount of money you got to pay, I couldn't afford to come here.
Right.
Australian dollars only worth 70 US cents, and all I get is, instead of justice and millions of dollars that all these psychopaths owe me through the federal courts, instead of that, all I get is a pension. $380 a week. So,
Well, let's hope.
have a think about it. I have to spend long stints in the woods in Australia to be able to get back.
Well, let's hope that by somebody watching my show, The Great Show on Earth, and this show here in the Bleachers, hopefully somebody will help you out.
Yeah.
I don't need help. I don't
Yes,
need.
you do.
No,
Yes, you do. You know why? Because you need a lawyer
Yeah.
to fight these people.
Even though I agree with you, so I'm
you
sorry.
do.
I'm sorry. I do need help. But what I'm trying to say is, there's going to be people that are going to be able to make a lot of money out of me getting
Good.
their cut. Like lawyers will get their cut. There's a lot of people that
And
are going
I'll
to get
get
a
my
big.
cut.
Of course you will, mate.
Damn right.
Of course you'll
You're
bloody
damn
get your
right.
cut.
Yeah, bloody well. Oh,
There's
I'm,
been
I'm a fighter
In
too.
10 years,
I'm a fighter.
in a decade, no one's helped me. So now the ones that are helping me are going to get their cut. And I tell you what, Danny Green, you can't hide your money, mate.
Question.
Angelo Hyder, you cannot hide your... Justice will be done.
You're-
Fight!
You are a lefty. You're a lefty fighter, right? You're a natural lefty.
Southpaw.
I
South-
turn
you're a
southpaw when if I break my
You're
hand,
a
I
south.
have to switch and...
But you're automatically a south first.
Well, if you look at my
Fights.
cover for my book, Boxer
Right,
Hobo,
right.
that would have been a winner, because I kept switching in the gym and everyone loved it.
Right. Because we've done a couple of quick ones. And you thought I boxed before. That was the nice thing. And I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't done that in God knows years.
I want
That's one thing.
I want to ask you, like, for any boxer, what is your strategy? Attack first or wait to get,
Like I said, my career was in the gyms. I mean, there's 100 guys that'll say, yeah, that guy could fight. We never knew about his head injury. And yeah, he wasn't fighting when he was knocking us out in the gym. And a lot of Angelo Hyder's fighters know this. But for the answer of your question, I love measuring people's southpaw. And then if I get nailed, I like to switch. Get
Like in
nailed
the
at-
Rocky movie.
Yeah, some idiots go, oh, Johnny Noctor can't hold his hands up. He's got his hands down.
Yeah.
Well, what about all the rounds, hundreds of rounds in the gym when I'm wobbling and dropping everyone,
Yeah.
and I'm not
yeah,
getting
yeah,
dropped?
Yeah.
You know, like
You remind me of the movie The Wrestler.
I'm not saying I haven't.
The movie
I'm not
The
saying
Wrestler.
I'm not saying I haven't been knocked out a lot since my head injury. I have, but before my head injury, no one could drop me before my head injury.
Speaking of wrestling, coming up this Sunday, WWE next pay-per-view,
Great balls of fire.
Brock Lesnar And of course, Samoa
I
Joe for the
hope
title.
I hope Lesnar loses. I can't stand the man.
Not a lot of people can.
And because you know what it is. You know what it is with that.
Part-time.
But he's a part-time wrestler. You know, most of the time, you want your championship. Now, back in the days, back in the 50s, 60s, the champion didn't have to fight. Look at Ric Flair when he went to Florida Wrestling and so forth. He didn't have to fight every day. He was just there talking and talking. Now, what they should start doing, in my opinion, is bringing back managers, bringing back more managers, like Paul Ellery. He's coming back.
Bobby Heenan.
Well, Bobby Heenan, he's got cancer, and
No, I'm saying a guy
but
like
somebody
him.
like him. But they're starting to do that a little bit, like Titus O'Neil with Ozawa. Got the power. That's a good shirt. Ozawa got the power.
Or Jimmy Hart, with a bullhorn.
Yeah,
I
you
miss
know.
like a Jimmy Hart.
Yeah,
I miss
because
them days.
if you can't find a guy that can talk, like he can talk, so he didn't need a manager.
You'd be good in WWE, you
But-
could
I tell you what, a manager would cash in on me.
Yeah, but I'm saying you can talk, but you see, right now, they need talkers like Paul Heyman. Lesnar can't talk very well.
at all. He barely can at times put a sentence.
Now Bobby Lashley can actually has gotten better over the years.
That's not nice.
But no, it's the truth. But Bobby Lashley has gotten better over the years. Now,
Impact.
And in Impact now it's going to be Global Force Wrestling. They're going to switch.
They're coming to Staten Island next
Yes,
month.
and
August
I
6th.
have tickets.
Yep.
So I
Richmond
can't
County
wait.
Bank.
Since I was a champion one time.
And
with
El
my hands
Patron.
of stone. Yeah. Right? I was a
Yep.
champion one time in wrestling, knocked him out.
Yeah, and you were, and you
Hand of
never,
stone.
and you never wrestled
Hand of-
ever again.
That's
because
right,
Every
retired
single
1-0.
time
One
someone
win, no
tried
losses.
to challenge you,
I
you would
figured-
not.
Yes, I wanted the challenge. They didn't
No,
wanna
you
fight me
didn't,
in
you
the
little
ring.
liar.
They didn't wanna fight
Every
me
time
in the
somebody
ring.
challenged you to
They
a
didn't
championship
wanna
match,
fight me in
you
the ring.
ducked
They-
away.
I did not get ducked away.
Yes, you
I wanted to
did.
fight him in the ring. I wanted to fight him in
No,
the ring.
you
That's
didn't, you
like in
little
the Rocky
liar.
right now.
You
I'm
turned
not
down
lying.
all comers, you little coward.
I know. I never turned down anybody.
Yes, you did.
Roman
You just said the
Reigns
word
versus
coward because you're looking at my book.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I quickly mention my books?
Yes,
Yeah,
please
go ahead.
do.
With my books, I actually, what you were saying before, I actually can write a lot better than I talk. That's
No,
what-
you do both.
No,
well.
that's why.
No, you do both very
but,
well.
check
you
out
do.
You do
my.
very well.
I don't like coward punch, corruption, and boxing exploitation because they're the true crime
Yeah,
versions.
exactly.
But the way I've written Boxer Hobo and The President, my first books, everyone says they love the unique way I write. And
Yeah.
like I said, women who hate boxing and Marines in Afghanistan love it.
The way you
And,
talk is the way you write. and you do
Unfortunately,
that
my
very
book
well.
America's like a mixture of them both put together. Unfortunately, but
Um,
it's more like Boxer Hobo. You
But
know.
I'm telling you, the way you write and the way you talk, you do it both very
Yeah,
well.
they
You
were
got-
both
man,
very
give
well.
yourself some credit.
The
Give-
brain
you gotta-
damage allows me to put
you gotta-
the
you gotta
pen to
give-
paper
you
a
gotta
bit
give
better.
yourself some credit. You got to pat yourself in
Fight
the
with
back.
ink
Yeah.
instead of bullets.
Yeah, exactly.
go.
But the pen is mightier than the sword. Yeah,
It's going to,
that's what they say.
In the end, it will be. I mean, in the end, Danny Green will fall harder than Lance Armstrong, and Armstrong fell very hard
Yeah,
with his lies about not cheating.
yeah.
But I mean, as far as
And America here was forgiving about that.
I
Because he still does
I
great things and
understand.
so
I
forth.
understand
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
I understand that. All I'm saying is, Danny Green's far worse. Like I said.
Right.
What about the 10 boxers that died? One of them wasn't registered. I mean, they can't explain this, and they're keeping all this quiet. But there's a lot of people in Australia starting to ask about that.
Did these boxers die in the ring?
One of them died at the same time that they were orchestrating the 90-fight veteran to knock me unconscious. 2 months before that, one died, and they kept that out the media because my mum was speaking to the boxing promoters about, why aren't you looking after my son? About his head injury, and they even said to her on the phone and emails, we wouldn't let anything happen to your son. And as Alex Slade was dying in Queensland, they were quickly orchestrating this, can you fight this young 19-year-old having his first fight? But as I said, I turn up and half an hour before the fight, someone said to me he's had 95, 75 wins. Nearly 40, they knew I hadn't been training, and they knew about my head injury and all the skull fractures. Yeah, they were just trying to silence me in the ring like Alex Slade and all the other ones that had died. I don't know what the reason was why they died, but they were trying to silence me because they found out I was going to start publishing my books because I told them.
Now, do you think there's a psychological factor if you kill someone in the ring?
I'd suggest that
Because
boxing
there has been like Dooku Kim.
Yeah.
He the
I'm
boxer.
I'm
I mean,
suggesting it's
yeah.
a safe sport.
Yeah,
if,
it
if
is.
it's run by ethical, moral people,
Right.
you know, Teddy Atlas, Johnny Lewis,
Right.
it's as safe as soccer.
Yeah.
But you know, you throw sociopaths into it, like Danny Green.
Right.
Look at what he did to Paul Hurricane Briggs.
Yeah, exactly.
You
That
know,
was
like
uncalled for.
it's
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
safe
exactly,
sport. The guy
exactly.
wasn't supposed
Right.
to be in the ring.
So you have a few of these people who are controlling the majority of what's going
They're
on.
controlling it. Angelo Hyder used. I heard he's got this story going at the moment. He got hit by a tree and he makes out. You know, he's got empathy for himself. He's injured on a walking cane or something at the moment. But before that, he used to come to Las Vegas and America constantly all through my purgatory and take millions and millions of dollars out of this country and back to Australia. Money that he's not entitled to because he belongs in prison.
Yeah.
You know.
And especially with all the evidence that you have.
Oh,
against
the evidence
him
in
and
my
stuff.
books, he's done like a dinner
Yeah.
when I can get him into court,
And that's
which
what
I
you
can't.
want. And that's what you want. Like I said,
because he's
hopefully-
using Danny Green's, you know, bullshit.
like I said, hopefully somebody from here will help you. get
Yeah, I'm
over
going
there
to
and so
find
forth. Yeah.
America, you little ripper.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm finding the good guys now, and but I have to quickly bring that up.
Coward.
Danny Green is the biggest hypocrite on planet Earth because now he's on Foxtel,
Foxstone.
getting paid a lot of money, telling people to not throw a coward punch.
For the record, Foxtel is Fox in Australia, right?
Sorry, in Australia. In Australia on Foxtel, not in America.
Mm-hmm.
In Australia on Foxtel and all through the media, he's telling people not to go out on the street on a Friday, Saturday night, have a beer and coward punch someone. And yet he coward punched Paul Hurricane Briggs. He coward punched Roy Jones Jr.
Right.
Him and his trainer made fun of me having me coward punched and knocked unconscious,
That's-
skull
yeah,
fractured and knocked unconscious for 6 years. And now that is the biggest hypocrite. That is, you know, priests that molest children and walk old ladies across the road for the camera. And, you know, he's the biggest hypocrite on planet Earth to be doing these things he's doing and getting away with it because he lies to all of the media about it.
What is
It's bad for boxing.
what is the
I'm
worst?
standing up for boxing, sorry, Jamie, not just
I
for
know.
myself.
I know.
Wait. He's got a question for you. Go ahead.
What is the worst lie that Danny and Angelo have spread about you?
Well, like the movies I've made of sprinting through the snow, and my book cover for America, these beautiful rangers. Oh, she was lovely. She took a photo of me at the summit of Pikes Peak in the Deep Stone, and that's my book cover. And what I'm saying is, my answer to your question is, they say that I'm just a criminal drunk that sleeps in parks and publishes crap because I'm trying to destroy boxing.
Right.
Yet anyone only has to read one page of Boxer Hobo to see the truth that is the opposite to what
Right.
they're saying.
Exactly.
They're trying to silence you. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're completely saying I'm something I'm not.
Yeah.
And they're saying to the media they're something they're not. Do you understand?
Yep. Yeah.
They're pulling the wool over everyone's eyes about themselves, and they're lying about a man that's got the guts to stand up to them. I'm not saying that other men in Australia don't try to stand up to them, but they all get controlled and
Suppressed and all.
as well.
Right. But
But,
you know what? Going back to your question about Great Balls of Fire, Lesnar versus Joe, who wins?
I hope it's Samoa Joe, but I'll tell you, they're probably going to make sure the Lesnar because he's the golden goose.
Right, but they got to wait because I'm thinking that it's going to be Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. That's what they're trying to push so far. But
Well, again,
let's see
the
what
second
happens.
the second rematch, and
Yeah.
that was the moment when Seth Rollins stole the
Exactly.
night. Reigns and Strowman. That's going to be the best match of the night, honestly.
Yeah, that's the one that's been hyped the most. Again, Reigns got to win it. He has to win it so that they can even him up with Lesnar. Now
I
the
wanna see
boys got to
Tozawa.
learn. The boys got to learn how to speak more. I mean, they say he's very quick-witted and so forth, but he's got to learn how. They got to give him.
And we've had this discussion on the show, me and you, about, and you your contention is that I wish we go back to days where it's more about what you do in the ring than less what you have to say with
And
the mic.
also, I kind of wish that they would have the interviews where, like how Mean Gene would interview so many wrestlers. They've got these good, talented broadcasters, good young broadcasters in their stable right now.
Renee
Why,
Young.
like Renee Young, why can't they use these youngsters to interview some of the wrestlers in between matches?
Do you like the managers coming back too?
Oh, of course.
Especially if the guy doesn't have. Okay, so cruiserweight. Neville versus Tozawa. Neville, Jamie.
Neville's been a little up and down lately.
I give it to Tozawa.
Yeah, I would give it to
he's
Tozawa
got the
as well.
power.
Yep.
And Alexa Bliss, I think, retains her title because right now we're hearing rumors of a possible SummerSlam match with her and Nia Jax.
That would be great, but Sasha Banks deserves to. I mean, they took it off her so many times. They should just put it back on her and do what they will. What they're doing to Flair.
I hate what they did to Bailey, though, especially in her hometown.
She never. Well, that's Vince McMahon. He's always done that. Anytime you're in their hometown and they're defending them, 9 out of 10 times they will get their butts whooped.
The
or
Montreal
they will
screw
lose.
job.
Yeah, exactly. So Seth Rollins versus Bray Wyatt. Come on, guys. This should be
Seth
an
Rollins
easy
and
one.
Bray Wyatt. Yeah, I
He's
think
supposed to
Bray
be he's supposed to be the eater of worlds, and the only thing he's eating is grass.
Definitely. And as for baseball this past week, the Mets, of course, won 2 out of 3 against Miami and 2 out of 3 against Philadelphia. The Yankees evened against Chicago 2-2, and they lost 2 out of 3 to the Astros.
Again.
And it seems like the Mets keep losing one player after another to the
And
injured list.
Colon.
Yeah, there's rumors of Bartolo Colon.
I want him
after
back.
he got DFA'd by the Braves.
I want him back. I want Bartolo back.
Don't be surprised if it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Gazelman got injured too.
Yeah.
Well, what about some of the youngsters that the Yankees have brought on? Clint Frazier had a tremendous debut.
Didn't one guy from them got blown?
Fowler.
Fowler. He just
Dustin
came up
Fowler,
and
who
already
on the night of his major league debut, blew out his knee.
Trying to catch a ball into the warning track in the first inning. Bottom of the first inning, he was supposed to, in the top of the second, have his first major league at bat, and it never happened. And he's out for 6 months.
I'm trying to get my drink, so don't worry about me.
And then Wimbledon, of course, for any tennis fans, got
Just started today.
Yeah, the grass court season officially kicked off, and Roger Federer will be playing tomorrow. And Venus Williams actually won in straight sets today.
Did you hear about Serena killing that
Yeah.
poor soul?
No,
It was-
Venus.
Venus. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
in a
horrible.
major car accident.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
That was
feel-
horrible.
and
I
right
wonder
now-
when they're going to bring charges to her.
The case still ongoing right now. It went down Fort Lauderdale, but she didn't answer any of the questions in her post-game media press.
Typical.
As for the Knicks, they lost their first summer league game today against the Thunder, 99-87.
Right.
Germany beat Chile to win the FIFA
Oh,
Confederations
and
Cup
the
nothing.
Knicks signed also a 7-footer. He was 71st draft pick today. And
they
they
only
signed him for
they
2
only go
years.
60 picks, man.
No, but he was 71. I just read it, and he signed for 2 years. He's one of those guys that can go from the D League up to the league, and he can be there for 45 days because it's a new rule now that you can have 17 players now.
Speaking of earlier, I was mentioning Jeff Horn, Australia. He won the match against Manny Pacquiao this past Saturday by unanimous
points.
decision. But
By
I'll tell you,
points, right.
it was controversial because most of the media outlets, 12 out of 15, scored it in
Do you
Pacquiao's.
know in Australia where it was on?
I know it was at the Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane, in Queensland. About
So you think-
51,000.
So I'm just thinking that if it's on in Australia, you know, it's all mostly going into Green and Hyder's pocket or the
Yeah,
promoters.
I'm
fund.
sure they are. I'm sure they're
I
getting
mean,
a cut. I'm sure they're getting a cut
They,
no matter
no
what.
one can do anything in Australia without them getting their big cut.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Go
But
ahead.
definitely Horn
When
won.
they've taken everything
Yeah.
off of me.
Horn shouldn't have won that fight. That should have went to Pacquiao. There were a few times, in fact, when Horn headbutted Pacquiao at least twice during
Exactly.
the match. And it was
Exactly.
unfair. This is the second time that he got screwed over Pacquiao. Remember the 2012 Timothy Bradley match, which he should have won,
Yeah.
and then he got the rematch and defeated Bradley. Because of the fact
Rematch?
yeah, he had a rematch.
Now I'm saying you think they'll have a rematch.
He's entitled in his contract, Pacquiao. He does get a rematch.
Good, then.
So we're gonna
that's
have a
good.
rematch. And
So, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
the next big fight coming up to me is September 16th, not August 26th. September 16th, Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin.
I do have one question. I go back to the Carmelo Anthony trade. If Carmelo Anthony gets traded to, let's say, Boston, who should the Knicks get for him?
I would like
Now, a realistic trade, not the best player, but what would be the most realistic trade that you can get?
I can't think of anything realistic with him. If I could think with Kristaps, on the other hand, that I could see.
Yeah, okay. Who would you if you would get
An Isaiah Thomas trade. I think that could be straight up. Possibly. I think that would be the case. If it's him, on the other hand, it's really hard to say. As for him going to Boston, that's not going to be the case.
Right.
If he was going to go to a team, I would say either Cleveland or LA. Wherever LeBron goes, that's where.
Houston.
Or Houston.
It's now that they signed CP.
And for the record, the kid that you're thinking of is Luke Cornett,
Yeah, him.
and he's 7'1". Hey, you can never have enough centers.
As for this
Center
month
forward.
alone, we have two big pay-per-views coming up. We have the Tour de France this month. Golfing with the Open, of course, which will take place in England.
Yeah.
So a lot of big sporting events. And,
One last word from you, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry I brought that up about Lance Armstrong before because
No,
no, he's not like a psychopath like Green.
No, but he did do something
I was
wrong.
just saying that
he did do
cheated,
something wrong.
and I'm just saying Green cheats in the worst way possible.
Right.
Right? He's a psychopath that's criminal. It's
Yeah,
not boxing,
exactly.
it's crime. you know.
Exactly, but at least but you know what? Give Armstrong his due. He came out and he finally admitted it that he did
Yeah,
do
which-
it, and that takes a lot of guts to do.
they're doing a movie on HBO, actually, where they're kind of like a comedy about the whole thing that he went through.
Yeah, exactly.
But I can't believe that a journalist won't do a story on the truth about Green. I can't believe it.
No, there's gonna be
And like my books actually is the best journalistic written material you could have, and yet no one will expose it. One day someone's going to expose it.
And NFL fans out there, remember July. Training camp gets underway, folks.
The rookies go first, and then the veterans follow.
And Jets, how they stacked up okay? Jets are gonna do okay this year.
I'll be
No.
honest, they're going to get 2 wins. With the way this team is currently set up, you get rid of guys like Mangle, Marshall, David Harris, who just signed with the Patriots.
Right.
You got Eric Decker, who just got signed by the Titans. Marshall was going to be with the Giants. All these players, and Darrell Reeves, who was getting up there in age and was having issues with his feet. I'll be honest, this team will be lucky to get 2, maybe 3 victories.
But do you think they're in the right track to trying to get a better team?
It reminds me of the early days of the 76ers with Danny Ainge dismantling the team and trying to get good draft picks for the future. I don't know where this team is going to go. It's like cover your eyes and don't watch. As for the Giants, on the other hand, I think they're actually in for a successful year because you add a guy like Marshall, who's a red zone threat, with the other receivers that they have, they're going to have a successful maybe 11, 12
Well,
win
let's
season.
see if Eli Manning can be protected because he's still got issues on his offensive line.
Especially the left side.
So, you wanna give
Johnny.
the last word?
Yeah.
Thank you
Oh, thanks, mate.
so
Thanks very much.
much
Good
for
on-
joining
Good
us.
on you, mate.
Good
You
to
little
see
ripper.
you again.
Good on ya.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie!
Flat
Oi.
out as a lizard drinking.
No, I was going to say, oi, oi, oi!
Folks, we hope you have the most awesome 4th of July ever. Forever.
I'm gonna have a bang. A couple of bang ones too. Good looking ones. Blonde, brunettes, redheads.
Why do I always tell you this? Blow up dolls do not count.
It's okay.
Anyway.
You call them what you want. You call them what you want. At least I want to get some.
For everyone here, I am Jamie,
And I'm Eric.
And I'm Hector.
and he's
Boxer,
Johnny.
hobo. Fighter, writer.
Good night, everyone.